Welcome you all to the 16th Annual Veterans Day Tribute Program. We especially want to thank the veterans who served our great nation. In Catherine Lee Bates' words, "O beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life." We thank you. We also thank your family who supported you. We thank the Provo Veterans Council, Mayor Kafusi, the leadership of America's Freedom Festival, teachers, administrators, and all you students who are taking time today to remember those who served to protect your freedom, your liberty, and your country. As many know, President Woodrow Wilson originally established Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919, in remembrance of those who died in the First World War. In 1954, President Eisenhower signed into law the current holiday we call Veterans Day. We celebrate all those who served their country, both living and dead, both in wartime and in peacetime, those who fought and those who supported and cared for those who fought. Serving in the military requires the sacrifice of your freedom from specific constitutional rights, such as freedom of assembly, free speech, and even habeas corpus, to more basic rights such as freedom of movement are all limited in important ways when you serve the military. One of my favorite stories is of a Timpview graduate who was told just before he went on military leave that he must make sure he did not come home sunburned because he would be cited for damaging government property. These basic sacrifices are made by those who engage in combat and those who repair vehicles before and after combat, those who plan war games in peacetime, and those who serve as doctors and nurses in war zones. Though sometimes their suffering is great, most veterans can remember aspects of their service with gratitude for friends made and country served. And for those of us who benefit from their sacrifice, we should honor veterans every day, but especially tomorrow on Veterans Day. We will start with a presentation of the flags by the Timpview High School Color Guard and Cheer. Then the Timpview Madrigals Choir will sing our national anthem. Ms. Provo Gloria Thomas will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Then Mayor Kafusi will share the city welcome. Our tribute today will follow the order outlined in the program. Thank you.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still
Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
I'm really tall, so this is always a little bit of an issue when I speak. Thank you. Well, good morning, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful event. I have spent many a year in this gym with my 5 kids, and I hear we have a football game we've got to go take care of tomorrow night. So I'm really excited, and go T-Birds. And then let's get the other group taken care of as well, and let Provo come and escort you in from your victory and have a huge state championship celebration. So that's my wish for today. Exactly half of any population is above average, and exactly half is below average. And that's the definition. Unfortunately, just good enough surrounds us, as it is always the easier course. However, there are those who seek excellence and become exceptional, and they become examples to the rest of us. Are they born this way, given better genes or more energy? Of course not. As this quote highlights, exceptional takes work. Exceptional results arrive only when exceptional people put in exceptional effort. It never arises by accident or good fortune. I was lucky enough to be raised right here in Provo by an exceptional mother. She found the strength and courage and perseverance to raise 7 kids by herself, while putting herself through nursing school. I was the free and reduced lunch kid in high school. Through her example, we knew, even as young children, that it was our responsibility to do better ourselves, and in so doing, we could lift those around us. I was inspired by her example and raised my own children with those same exceptional expectations. And it is good mom moments when I see their hard work and know that it will pay off. As mayor, I wanted to instill the same high standard with our new Provo City mission statement, which is exceptional care for an exceptional community. I can't think of a better word to describe my expectations for our service delivery to our residents, because we are an exceptional community. And that is never more obvious than when surrounded by the exceptional examples of our veterans. Just like my mom, who found strength, courage, and perseverance to achieve exceptional results for herself and her children, our veterans show that same selfless service for America. In the most challenging of circumstances, facing fears, doubts, and their very mortality, these brave men and women helped America become exceptional. Our thank you to them is not just be inspired by their exceptional example, but to become one of our own. Thank you for your exceptional patriotism, and thank you for your service, and God bless America.
It is tradition at patriotic events to honor each branch of the military of the armed services with their own service song. It is performed to honor and salute the men and women from each branch of our U.S. Armed Forces and their families. We invite all in attendance to stand when their branch's song of the military is played. We also invite any in the audience to stand and honor and represent thy family members or friends who have also served. Marine Corps. Navy. Air Force. Coast Guard.
Next, we will have a spotlight of Staff Sergeant Ethan Carrasco by Eli and Army Carrasco. This will be followed by a performance from Timpview Band, and then a spotlight of Staff Sergeant Anthony Douglas Carter by Bella Carter. And then we'll have a performance by Timpview Ballroom.
I'm Eli. I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here.
This is Eli, and he is a student here. What grade are you in, Eli?
Freshman.
You're a freshman. Okay. And who is your dad?
Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan. Ethan Carrasco, Staff Sergeant Ethan Carrasco. I'll just read a little bit about Eli's dad, my husband. His name is Staff Sergeant Ethan Carrasco. He served in the Army for 11 years and was medically wounded in combat. He retired and has since gotten his degrees in social work, and he's a licensed clinical social worker that helps to serve our community for behavioral and mental health. He served in combat infantry, recruiting, resilience training, and electronic warfare. He served 2.5 years in combat warfare in Iraq and is cross-trained with the Special Forces in the Philippines. Staff Sergeant Carrasco.
Hi, I'm Bella Carter. Hi, I'm Bella Carter, and today I'm honored to introduce my dad, Anthony Douglas Carter. My dad passed away on September 10th, 2014, from stage 4 stomach cancer. His cancer was a result from an untreated infection he obtained while he was deployed in the Kunar province in Afghanistan. My dad was born in Los Angeles and entered the foster care system with his 3 brothers when he was 5. He was bounced around to many different foster homes until he was adopted by my grandparents, Walt and Julia Carter. My dad was 13 when he was adopted. He also wanted to serve in the military because he said that he wanted to help people who couldn't help themselves. He knew what it was like to feel helpless in the foster system. After his 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, my dad enlisted in the Marine Corps, where he served as the crew chief on a CH-46 helicopter. He loved the Marines. He served in the Corps for 11 years. After he got out of the Marine Corps, he went to Utah Valley Community College. He was in the aviation program. He wanted to be a commercial pilot. During this time, 9/11 happened. He had to help. He wanted to serve. My dad felt really strongly that he had to help because, just so many people were, getting so hurt. He dropped out of UVCC and enlisted in the 19th Special Forces at Camp Williams in Draper. From there, he went to selection, a 3-week tryout to see if he could start the Q course, or the training to become a Green Beret. He had been selected. My dad, mom, 2 other sisters, and brother moved to North Carolina so my dad could attend the Q course at Fort Bragg. It took my dad 2.5 years to go through the Q course. He earned his Green Beret in November of 2003. He was an 18 Bravo or a weapons sergeant. He attended jump school, sniper school, and language school for Indonesian. After graduation, my family moved back to Alaska, where my mom is from. My dad continued to serve in the 19th SF until he passed away in 2014. He had served many 6-month deployments to Bangladesh, Nepal, and Thailand. He served 2-year-long deployments to the island of Jolo in the Philippines and to the Kunar province in Afghanistan, during Operation Enduring Freedom. These deployments were very hard on my dad. When he returned from Afghanistan, he had severe PTSD. He continued to work as a police officer and firefighter at the Ted Stevens Airport in Anchorage, Alaska. I lost my dad when I was 6 years old, but I still think about him every day. My dad had to overcome a lot to serve in the Special Forces. He sacrificed a lot of time away from his family. He was proud of his chance to serve. The Green Beret symbol is a dagger and 2 crossed arrows. It has an inscription in Latin that says, De oppresso liber. This is the Green Beret motto, which means to free the oppressed. Today I'm proud to honor my dad and all of the brave men and women who serve and have served today. Thank you.
I can't get him off my tail! Ike, I've got your big dead ahead. I've got him dead ahead. I got tone. Fire it!
I'm Batman.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
And every last inch of me's covered with hair.
Hey there, teenage Baltimore! Don't change that channel, cause it's time for the Corny Collins Show. Brought to you by Ultra Clutch Hairspray. Oh, every afternoon when the clock strikes 4, a crazy bunch of kids crash through that door, yeah. Oh, throw off the coats and leave the squares behind, and then they shake it, shake it, shake it like they're losing their mind. And then I see them frown, cause they're the nicest kids in town. Oh, every afternoon you turn your TV on. Yeah, we know you turn the sound up when your parents are gone, yeah. Then you twist and shout for your favorite star, and when you practiced every step that's in your repertoire, you better come on down and meet the nicest kids in town. Woo! And I'm the man who keeps it spinning round, Mr. Corny Collins with the latest, greatest Baltimore sound. So every afternoon, drop everything. Woo! Who needs to be right when you can dance and sing? Ah, la, 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 la. Forget about your algebra and calculus. You can always do your homework on the morning bus. Can't tell a verb from a noun. They're the nicest kids in town. Roll call.
I'm Amber.
Brad,
Tammy.
Fender,
Brenda.
Sketch,
Shelly.
IQ,
Luann.
Joey, Mikey,
Becky.
Jesse,
Darla.
Holly,
Noreen. Doreen.
And I'm late. So if every night you're shaking as you lie in bed, shake it, baby, and the bass and drums are pounding in your head. Who cares about sleep when you can snooze in school? You'll never get to college, but you'll sure look cool. Don't need a cover a gown when you're the nicest kids in town. They're the nicest, nicest. They're the nicest, nicest. They're the sugar and spices, nicest kids in town. Woo!
Next, we will have Eliza Doxey introduce our keynote speaker, veteran United States Air Force, Stephen Schallenberger.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. Our guest speaker today is Stephen Schallenberger. Stephen Schallenberger is a native of Utah Valley. He grew up right here. Just 3 weeks after graduating high school, he left for the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. Steve served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and returned to graduate from the Air Force Academy in 2003. Steve flew the F-16 for 10 years of his 12-year career, including 2 tours in Iraq, 2 one-year remote tours in South Korea, and a certificate of graduation from the U.S. Air Force Weapons School, also known as Top Gun. He now lives in San Diego with his lovely wife and 3 extraordinary children. Please welcome Stephen Schallenberger.
It's so good to be with you today, and I just need to comment briefly that, Bella, I think you have a lot to be proud of with your dad, but I can promise you something, that he's very proud of you. for what you did today. Courageous and wonderful. Thank you for that. Okay, I was captain of the Orem football team like decades ago. And we came up here and played Timpview. We won, but guess what? The year that I was a senior, Timpview came over and whooped us on my home turf over at Orem High School. And I understand that's not the last time these two teams have played. What's going on tomorrow at 2:30? Go get them, T-Birds. Get the job done. This school has a lot to be proud of as I look at the banners around here. Not just that, but the volleyball team champions this year. What's up? And the business competition team winning up at Utah State. What's going on? Great job, Timpview. Well done. You know, people often ask me, what's it like to fly a fighter jet or the F-16? And it's a pretty intense thing. It's exhilarating. And in a way, it's like a drug. You just want to keep going back to it. And when I describe this to people, I try to say it's like playing a high-stakes game of chess with burning hot metal, well-trained pilots, and smart missiles that are all trying to kill you. It's pretty intense. But the trick is you have to get them first. And you know what? That's what American fighter pilots are really good at. One of my dreams flying the F-16 was to go to the merge against a Russian or a Chinese Su-27, which is their premier fighter jet. I'd always wanted to do that. Fortunately, we didn't have that conflict and that never happened, but I want to describe to you what it's like to go to the merge. A merge is where a jet here and a jet here have shot missiles at each other, and for some reason they didn't work, and so you end up in close in a fist fight like this. And so if you'll come into the cockpit with me, I'm trying to create this visualization so you can be there. Sitting in the F-16 cockpit, it's pretty small and you're reclined a little bit. In your left hand, you have almost 30,000 pounds of thrust. In your right hand, you have 9 Gs of maneuverability. Exceptional. It's small and you have a glass cockpit over your head like this, and there's nothing obstructing your view. It's like standing outside and looking up in the sky. You can see anywhere at any time. It's the most visibility of any fighter in the world. And you sit out on the nose of this jet. It's like sitting on the tip of a diving board. You're out there on the very tip of it. Nothing beside you. You can look around, you can look down and see anything. And so imagine, if you will, you're going to the merge. You're both going 500 miles an hour, 600 miles an hour. When you cross, you're going essentially, in comparison to the other jet, the speed of a bullet. Now, if I'm going to the merge against a Russian Su-27, you can bet that I'm throwing out flares and chaff as I go to that merge so that those missiles can't get me. And as we get close, as we get to this point here, then as he starts to pass me, I'm going to roll and set my wings on him so my head is pointing right at him. My throttle goes into afterburner. I'm going 480 knots, which puts the most maneuverability on that jet that it can have. And here come the Gs. G-forces are intense. They're not fun. At 2 Gs, you would feel uncomfortable. At 3 Gs, you would probably feel like you just wanted to get out of it. At 4 Gs, you're going to start to pass out. The F-16 goes up to 9 Gs, and it has equipment in it to help you stay alive while you're pulling 9 Gs. Well, as I pass that jet, I need to dial up to 9 Gs so I can turn this jet around and get my nose pointed so I can shoot missiles and knock him out of the sky first. That's the goal. So as we pass now, I'm looking through the top of my canopy, I set my wings on him, and I start to pull. 2, 3, 4, 9 Gs. Here goes the turn, but I'm watching him, because guess what happens? If you lose sight of that guy, you lose the fight. So I need to keep my eyes on him. I'm straining and looking back under 9 Gs. My head weighs 300 pounds. You can hardly move it, but I've got my eye on him, and I'm turning it, and if he chooses to go up like this, the game's over. I've got him up in the sky with a heat-seeking missile, and I'm going to pop him like that. He's probably not going to do that. My guess, he's going to stay level with me, so I'm going to take my jet, and I'm going to rotate down. And I'm going to use the force of gravity to help my nose carve around so I can get my missiles on him first. 9 Gs, 9 Gs, 9 Gs. It is not easy. But here he comes. He's starting to walk forward on my canopy, and there he is. I can get him within my missiles field of view now. Looking up through my helmet-mounted sight, I uncage the heat-seeking missile on him, and I hear the tone, boop. That tells me that I have a good lock on him. Hit the pickle button, whoosh, there goes the missile. I'm going to watch it because just because you shoot a missile doesn't mean it's going to work. I'm watching him now. He's still maneuvering, and I'm still turning, but there goes my missile. It's tracking, boom, right up the tailpipe. I win. That's how an engagement's going to go in an F-16 against an Su-27. So I want to tell you, I'm not too concerned about going to the merge against a Russian fighter or a Chinese fighter. Their militaries have come quite a ways. They've closed the technological gap, but we still have better training and more aggressive pilots, which I think means we still win. And I'm grateful for the pilots that are out there flying now, and they're doing a great job holding that line for us. But I've got to tell you, I'm not as concerned about Russia or China or the other external threats, but there is something that has me concerned, that actually has me deeply concerned. I'm talking about the decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling right here. There's a quote by John Stuart Mills that says, "War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things." The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling that thinks that nothing is worth fighting for is much worse. And so, if you were to walk across America, perhaps not in this auditorium today, but in many places of America, some people don't think that America is worth fighting for. Well, I want to tell you about something, and we're going to open up this dialogue a little bit. If you go down to Nellis Air Force Base, the home of the fighter pilot, where the Top Gun school is for the United States Air Force, there's a place where you can go in and study and work with some of the intelligence personnel. It's a classified study area. You go in and lock the vault door behind you, and then you can access the information that's useful to study and prepare. There's a quote on the wall there, and it says, hanging on the wall, by a Russian communist leader, "We are never going to destroy America unless we can do it from the inside." That's interesting. Would you know and would you believe that communist is not so much a governing principle, it is an idea, that it existed before Russia and it's going to extend beyond China. In fact, communists have been working on the United States for over 100 years. And these aren't the kind of people that are flying red flags. These are people that might look like you and me, that are wearing a suit or a shirt. And they're inside our government. They're all over throughout our country. They just have different beliefs and ideas. They've corrupted many of our political institutions. They've affected our education. They're working on destroying our morals, and they're trying to divide us as a country. They're trying to divide us along lines of race, along lines of gender, and along lines of ideas and politics. Well, I, for one, as an American, am not very happy about this, and would like to talk here with this audience about perhaps something we can do to reinforce our American ideals. But first, I want to talk to the veterans. It's great to be with you today. I do see some of the veterans here, and I've got to say that I can almost imagine some of the stories in your minds and in your lives that you've never told to anybody. I know they're there. Something interesting happened when us veterans went into the service. We made an oath. And do you know what that oath said? The oath said, "I solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic." Isn't that interesting that we swore to defend the Constitution, not a president, not a political party, and not an ideal, the Constitution. And isn't it also interesting that we swore to protect against enemies, foreign and domestic. I love that oath. And veterans here today, my guess is when you left the service and you finished your time, that you never renounced that oath. I didn't renounce that oath. And I would ask you here today to reaffirm your commitment to those same ideals. And so, my dear veterans, brothers and sisters in arms, will you today reaffirm that you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic? Thank you. I see that. Okay, but I want everybody else to know that there's not enough of us veterans here. There's not enough soldiers, airmen, Marines, or sailors in our military to win this war of ideology. This is going to require all of us. Yes, you in the stands, in the back, on this side of the room, our orchestra, the choir, here in the seats in front, red coats, blue coats, ties, shirts. It's going to require every single one of us. And so I wonder if we can all be united as veterans in defending liberty. And so I ask you to make a commitment in your heart if you're willing to do this. In your mind and your heart. I ask you, everybody here, are you willing to solemnly swear that you will support and defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic? Now, for those of you that are willing to do that in your mind and your heart, I have 3 requests for you. And I hope that we can all engage in this. Request number 1. Will you take some time, a break from your busy life, to think about why you care about liberty? Why does American liberty matter to you? That's number 1. Number 2, will you also take time to commit to learn about what creates liberty and what destroys liberty? What creates liberty and what destroys liberty? And number 3, the American way is not violence. We do not believe in violence as a tool of persuasion. And so my request of you is, will you be willing to articulately, with nobility and dignity, defend the principles of liberty in your life and your conversations? Will you be willing to do that? I love flying the F-16 and I love serving our country and I love our country. But more than that, I love being part of a community of people who values the great gifts that we've been given. And so because of that, I here today pledge to you that I will solemnly support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, so help me God. And my hope is that we can all be veterans of defending liberty together here in the United States of America. Thank you for the time. Go get the Tigers tomorrow, and God bless America.
Thank you, Steve Schallenberger, for your inspiring keynote. Thank you, President Wolfgram, for explaining the Armed Forces medley, Amy, Eli, and Bella for your spotlights of veterans, and everyone else who has participated in this program. A special thank you to Costa Vida for providing lunch for the veterans and their families. And thank you to the Provo Channel for streaming this event and the Covey Center for Sound, and all the other groups who made this event possible. In closing, let us remember the words of President Ronald Reagan and John F. Kennedy. Veterans know better than anyone else the price of freedom, for they've suffered the scars of war. We can offer them no better tribute than to protect what they have won for us. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. This concludes our Veterans Tribute Program. Thank you all very much.